Good evening and welcome to another edition of Lounge Lyme right here on Reggae Online. I want to remind all our viewers that we have a couple of programs that are quite exciting and interesting with interesting people. Mike's Moment Off, Rockers Book Club, the Inside the Vocal Salon, and of course, Talawa Table. We invite you to view these programs on our platform. And for those of you who are interested in any of our courses, feel free to go to reggaeonline.com and sign up for one of the courses. This evening, we are kind of sitting at the intersection of what I would call Jamaican theater, reggae heritage, and cultural storytelling. Our guest is one of Jamaica's most beloved actors and playwrights. He calls himself a multifaceted creative. He likes to say that he's short but not short of nothing. He likes to walk around the place where he works at Edna Manley College and inspire students. He is brother to two lovely people that I like much, nephew to somebody that you would know in reggae music. I'll call his name because it's important that we do, Alton Ellis. And he's from a space that is Jamaica's cultural heartbeat, which is Trenchtown. He's built a career that bridges music, drama, and of course, Jamaican identity. And so today we're looking at music, memory, magic, Marley with Blakka. But before we talk to him about the specific play that he's producing now at the Edna Manley College, I want to welcome you, Blakka.
Thank you.
And I
Thank
want to
you.
start at the beginning. I want to start at the beginning where you started Trenchtown, Kingston, Jamaica. Tell me what the household was like with all the people we've come to know and laugh and dance to.
Well, Trenchtown, my life in Trenchtown was not one household. That's interesting thing. So I lived the place where I slept and ate with my auntie Becca was at the corner of First Street and Third Street in Trenchtown, Upper First Street and Third Street. Um, and I lived in that house with my aunt who raised me, my mother's elder sister, and my siblings on my mother's side, which would be my brother Aston and a couple of other sisters. And we were the only two boys there, me and Aston and our sisters. Other brothers kind of passed through. That was one house. And then I could run around the road to my father's house at Third Street. So in fact, I would bathe at my father's house on a Sunday because they lived in what Marley popularized as the government yard. I live in and it's interesting. I must share this because people would think when Bob talking about the government yard, people see that as the projects and therefore the lower end of the spectrum. But it wasn't. It was the middle end because that was concrete house with running water. I was in the lower end, the capture land, boardhouse, zinc fence, network of lanes. That was my end. So that's where I grew up.
You know what amazes me when we drop things that we take for granted. So when you say government yard, I'm hearing dreadnoughts not live in a government yard.
Right.
And when you say zinc fence, I'm thinking of zinc fence, the band. But
Right.
I'm also thinking of third world zinc fence.
Exactly.
And
And all these words that have become part of the
part of music,
vocabulary. Yes.
Capture Land, Chronics is Capture Land. But it's
Yes.
interesting that all of it, I always say to people that music is what it is because of the space it's coming from.
Exactly.
It's the words that come up, it's really unique to that space. We
Exactly.
make it popular. But I want to ask, we interview legacy, I call you a legacy man, the legacy children or the legacy families. We've interviewed them a lot on Reggae Online, and people are always curious about the pressures it may have had on you or not. As nephew to Alton Ellis, did you find that you were drawn to music because of him, or did you shift away from it because of him?
A bit of both, because I was drawn to it because of him. I mean, you had a member of your family who was being played on the radio, and that was a big thing for us. So when as a child growing up, we felt like we were on the border between celebrity and poverty, because we live in Auntie Becca. Now we're tearing clothes and I sell fish on the roadside. But my uncle by my father's side, him sang a play on radio. And he drove a car. In those days, it was one of the few cars in Trenchtown was Alton Yellow Triumph. It was a big thing when the car pull up, you know. So and we had a band. We had a band of brothers, me, Aston, and Junior. We formed a band called Youth Corporation. I was playing drums, Aston on guitar, Junior on bass. A friend who we only know in name Million Teeth playing keyboard. And the vocalist was Anthony Johnson, who got popular as a Dennis Brown son alike. Yeah, we had one big hit song, you know. Every day is a gunshot and another one get dropped. And we had this band. So when we were like 14, thereabout, but then because I felt like I was supposed to be in music. My brothers are all musicians, my uncle Alton, my father sing, my auntie Alton sing. But after a while, it's the appeal, I kind of lost the appeal for it because I know, to be honest, the work that they called for, I wasn't prepared to put the work in. So I went where I felt I could, I could, I had less demands on equipment and talent and rehearsal and work, and just bring my body and voice, and I got into theater.
You know, you said her name and almost pulled it back. And we're in Women's History Month.
Mm.
Hortense Ellis.
Yes,
What you mentioned her like my Hortense Ellis are your auntie?
yes, yes, and ethnomusicologists, would many of the experts still have her as the very first woman to actually record a song in Jamaica. Yeah, she was the less popular of the siblings, my father's siblings, because they were all singers. All of that generation, Uncle Irvin, Uncle Alton, Uncle Auntie Artens, and my father, they were all singers. Because their mother, my grandma, Auntie, what can we call her, Ambi, she was a singer, and they all inherited the singing genes. And they stopped at them and didn't
Absolutely.
get to me.
You know, I had my great grandmother was our Aunt B.
Oh my
We went
goodness.
for Aunt B every Saturday evening.
Ambi.
So, so people associate Alton with rocksteady classics.
Mhm.
Um, if you were to think about artistry and discipline, what did you learn from him?
Oh, um, confidence and being willing to claim your space. I remember one time the simple thing we asked him for, 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 for advice. There was a contest on TV called Talent Search. And my brother and me, Aston and me, and a friend called Denzel Beagle decided to enter and we said, Uncle Anton, give me some advice how to sing. And he said, just sing. Just open your mouth and sing.
That sound country.
you know, and what he really meant was, if you want to swim, jump in the water. You want to
Yeah.
sing, open your mouth and sing. Let your voice out. And that for me was a lesson that still stays with me. Just do the thing with confidence, and it will create a space for you. Make a space, and that's what I've been trying to do for the rest of my life.
Give thanks, Blakka. You know, so we started with family, and I want to go to place
Hmm.
because there are things you said about the place called Trenchtown,
Yeah.
which is another important part of your story. And we'll talk a little later about what you do in Trenchtown. You mentioned Auntie Becca that I know you formed a foundation called Becca Foundation. So
Hmm.
we'll talk a little bit about that as well. But so for many people in Jamaica and for people around the world, the way that we got the UNESCO Creative City of Music, all of that, it was surrounded around Trenchtown as a birthplace of this incredible music and
Hmm.
cultural movements. So, what are some of the earliest memories you have? If you can share an early memory that would bring music to mind in
Hmm.
Trenchtown outside of your family space, could you share that with us?
Well, I'll tell you that we didn't have TV in our house, and we didn't get to go out much. But as children, My brother Hassan and me would walk down to the bottom of First Street, and when the Marleys are rehearsing, and all the kids would be allowed to come sit down in a little space and watch these men perform. So we'd be
You
there.
mean the Whalers at the time?
The Whalers at the time, yeah, the Whalers, and and so we were as children watching experts doing their thing. And the beautiful thing about it for me, I remember, like in the Bible, for the children to come unto me, we were never turned away, never chased away. If you have met nice and thing, you have to leave. But if you just sit quietly, so we just sit there, who never on a shirt, tear up bottom pants, just sit down, some look up in sit down there on the floor, of course, in a wonderful cloud of smoke, and enjoy the music. And that for me was a wonderful childhood memory that I still. And then when the Whalers moved out, we used to go further up the road to Wailing Souls, also on First Street, same thing. And that for me was there was always music, all music around. You could see my father lived at Church Street. Across the road from my father was Joe Higgs, and then around the road was Ken Booth and Latin Perkins. We were always around men who we now learn were important. There was just, my father friend, the man on the road. So my earliest memory was being surrounded by music and visual art. My father's next door neighbor was Legon Cogill, and Legon house was like a studio, exhibition of wonderful artwork. And Legon was like to some many people tell that Legon was like Marley's muse in some ways. And Legon was there doing visual art. So long before we have culture yard, there were tourists coming to look at Legon's artwork, visual artwork in Trenchtown. So early memory in Trenchtown was being surrounded by the arts all the while.
I'm happy you brought us there because I kind of was wondering the transition for you, or perhaps not a transition, but from music to theater. And I think the first place I visited down that side of town was Ambassador Theater. Did that play any role at all in your upbringing?
Oh, absolutely. It was and now that I'm good when I go back there now, what I'm having about is how the space now seems almost small. Because then it was this massive edifice outside and inside. And I don't think I've ever seen a show there. But I would hear about the show that happened there. Millie Small performing, Hot Internet performing alongside big name brand American artists. We would hear that Marcus Garvey gave a speech there. So even though we never saw these things, we started to play that place where these big things happened and where these big people turned up. So it was always there like a reminder of how important Trenchtown is. That place that people not only come from that are important, but people come to because it's important.
Give thanks. I think my first encounter with you, like many Jamaicans, would have been through theater productions. A lot of humor that kind of is embedded in social commentary and deeply Jamaican characters, whether it's with Bello or the later parts of your life. Talk us through the Bello Blakka story. How did the two of you meet? Was he also from Trenchtown?
So Bella actually came from Jonestown, and we met when we were
It's
in
literally up the road.
the road, right? We are neighbors, The interesting how our lives intersect. We're both born the same year, different month. Me April, him August. Jonestown, Trenchtown. We both went to co-ed schools outside our community. He went to Camperdown, I went to Excelsior. And we met in that period when we were in fourth form in high school, him at Camperdown and me at Excelsior. And we met as competing rivals at the secondary school drama festival. And he was the person to beat because he was the top actor. Wonderful resonant voice and brilliant creativity. And the person he could play guitar, play keyboard, play drum, sing, act. He was just enviable. And and so the last year in high school, he won the best actor award for school drama festival. And the following year, I won the best actor award. And the year after that, we both met at School of Drama as first year students. We
Wow.
formed a wonderful friendship.
What year was that, pray tell?
1978.
2 years after my burning, are you really old? You look well.
Beg your pardon. We met in
Because
78.
may I try add up what year you went to Edna Manley College and then may
Yeah.
I try work out. Say how much now? But it's okay. You don't
Yeah.
have to
Well,
tell us.
so in 78, there we were, in 78, two teenagers just turned 18 and studying theater together. And Bella always walked with a guitar and a ready voice. And I would be walking with a head full of lyrics and ideas. We'd make a new song almost every week. But we'd be
Mm.
merging songs and poetry. He would sing some really deep, powerful songs, and I would chant some poetry. And that was our thing in those years, music
When did
and
you,
poetry.
okay. Wow. Um, because I know the Edna campus, I'm just imagining some of the things that would happen. You mentioned the haze down at the with the whalers,
Hmm.
haze of smoke, and
Yeah.
I wondered how much of that and how that particular haze inspired a lot. But when did you realize that theater was going to be your life's work?
Within that same year, 78, when I won the Best Actor Award for School Drama Festival, and I thought, hey, if we have big actors in there, like there are people who are like Winston Bell from Camperdown and Carl Davis from Jamaica College. And these were the actors who I was competing against. And if I could win the award against these guys, there's something here for this theater thing. And that what pulled me into studying at School of Drama. 'Cause up to that point, I thought I was gonna be a lawyer.
Interesting. Because, I was going to your uncle telling you that just sing.
Hmm.
How do you learn to sing? Just sing. You
Yeah.
have what most Jamaicans call a kind of speech impediment.
Yeah.
Because me used to tease enough people at school and call them stammer.
Yeah.
If you stutter a little bit, I stammer your
Yeah.
name. So we have enough stammers in Jamaica. Was that ever an impediment for you as a performer?
No. Throughout my high school years, for some reason, I just found ways around it. I embraced it, and I found creative ways to either pronounce it, use it, leverage it, or simply ignore it. But I would never attempt to be hiding behind it or be shy about it. But when I tried to enter School of Drama, though, the great Trevor Rohn called me to his side and gave me some advice. And he told me straight up, you can't make it as an actor with your quote unquote impediments. And he named them. He said, you lisp and you stutter. And to be an actor requires a certain kind of vocal virtuosity. And I could remember Celia is very resonant voice saying, young man, you ought to rethink your options, because the vocal, and I said, well, like, sir, you don't have the impediment though, sir. Impediments are things that hold you back. And my talking has never impeded me. I said, sir, what I have are two speech peculiarities. I'm simply different. And I refuse to take his advice and go get therapy. And I said, okay, I'll choose my roles carefully. But I'm gonna just be me. And I've done that for 40 years. Just be me.
And it's interesting. I never hear you stutter in normal conversations. I only hear you make play at it
Right.
on stage. So that's quite interesting. But when you mention Trevor Rohn, I find Trevor Rohn like an old guard, I would say, a
Yeah.
kind of colonial relic, perhaps, based
Right
on the
word.
type of theater that he would want to encourage and the type of speech that he would find worthy.
Right.
When you think about that, is there it's probably one of your colleagues, I think it's Camille Kwamina, who has, and perhaps Eugene Williams, I heard speak to the third actor, this Caribbean actor,
Yeah.
this Caribbean persona, that might not have been prioritized during Ron's time. How do you
Hmm.
think we've come? How far have we come away from what Ron would have seen as ideal to showcasing another voice in this space?
I think we've come a real far away to the extent that we can't even talk about dub poetry. at a farm is a sign that we've come a far way from how we frame literature and how we frame theater. We have actually, I think, successfully carved out a Caribbean theater vocabulary that reflects our rich heritage and that honors our legacy of inheritance as African people. And I think we have done that through the work of great mentors like Royal Gibbons and Dennis Scott and writers like Kamal Brathwaite. I think we have managed to carve that out. I think we've come a long way. We no longer confine poetry to the written word. We can favor and respect the value of storytelling as part of our culture, and the fact that we are a people who tell stories, live stories. You know, um, that thing we've come a far way. We still have far to go, but we've come a far way in owning ourselves and claiming ourselves and being ourselves.
Nice. How do you pass that on to students you currently teach?
Oh my goodness. Well, every single lecture, every single production, every single rehearsal, I have to tell a story. I have to tell a story. And I tell stories because you weave stories through everything so that they might forget the lesson, the topic in today's class. We're looking at theater and development and we're looking at Paula Freire. But they remember a story I tell them about me and Anna Forthsmith driving to do a workshop in St. Elizabeth or to go to Hanover, and we are drive somewhere and she have a flat tire and me at the time have dreadlocks and Anna White, and we are saying, with not stop because I'm thinking I read that jet and a tourist, and we can tell those stories that intersect the topics and the themes about society and culture and so on. So my legacy with my students is to share stories that enrich their learning.
By the way, what's a renter dread?
Renta Dread is the gigolos, the guy in the North Coast who always work with a white lady on them and every other week a different one because they get paid to be escorts, so to speak.
I see. I see. We won't go any further in that particular
No,
subject.
no, there's a whole video on that. I did a documentary on that. The women who come, kind of big part of our tourism product. The women who come for their little own little Bob Marley. Find a Rasta man with a guitar and they own him for a
And
week.
then you're Bob.
Yeah.
The Marley, it's we're gonna go into the Marley legacy and what you're doing
Yeah.
as a Trenchtown man. But I wanted to ask, as a teacher,
Mhm.
as an active actor, do you think that our stories become limited because of our particular Caribbean style? Does it become limited to just the Caribbean, or do you think that it can resonate with people outside of our culture?
I don't think it's ever limited. I think it's limited only for a brief moment when people have to encounter the language barriers or the to get details of meaning and so on. But I think we have we in spite of not if not in spite of because of our unique Jamaicanness, the world looks at us. I remember the first time I did a comedy show in Trinidad and Tobago at Bello and Blakka and in the National Stadium at the Jean Pierre Complex. Massive crowd. And we stepped out there with people said, Blakka, Bello, one of the people there, look at the crowd big, with a talk, to converse. And they're dying. We simply talk Jamaican. And they, oh, the crowd big, what did butcher? And we were simply being ourselves. So and the people know whether them come from Brazil or Japan. They understand Jamaican dialect, Jamaican patois, Jamaican talk, and they understand our nuances and so on. I want these vloggers now from Australia who's sharing his Jamaican experience. The brand Jamaica is a big thing worldwide. So we cross over. We cross over every language barrier, cultural barrier, regarding sound and style and look and taste. We have
Mhm.
crossed over.
Okay. How do you have to change your content, like when you're doing a stand-up
Hmm.
routine for whether it's in the Caribbean or for a Caribbean diaspora? versus an audience who has no connection to Caribbean? What do you do with your subject then?
I don't change the subject. I just change how I present it and how I use it. So I might be commenting to Jamaican in the diaspora about how life at home and life when you travel different.
Mm-hmm.
But if the same content, the same stories, I show how when you travel, how things different. But to a non Jamaican audience, I would then be trying to give them an into my culture. This is how we do things. So same content, but I'm not teaching you how we do things. And with people from the diaspora, you remember when you were pitting and you played this game. So
Mm-hmm.
it's the same content, but with some people, I'm teaching, sharing. With others, I am reminding you, reflecting on it. And in
Oh,
some instances, I am comparing the difference between me, my culture, and this new space, you, your language, and that new space. So I'm always doing that. And it's always the same content, my own life story, my own observations and experiences. I try hard not to quote unquote give a joke, but to share from things that I've seen and experienced.
mhm. As you were talking, I wonder how much we really actively, as a theater practitioner, as a teacher, as someone in the arts, how we use. So we know arts, theater, music, dance, as entertainment
Mhm.
and education. But how do we actively use it for cultural preservation?
We have to honor it, and we have to understand that Clifford Geertz, the social theorist, said culture is the web of stories we tell ourselves about ourselves. So we have to honor the part of ourselves that we see and experience, honor it, and be willing to share it. But importantly, we have to help young people to not just see a thing you're doing and a thing you're doing, but see that something that came from somewhere before you. So to honor what came before you, to honor what came before you, so you can understand or you can then shape it, hold it, carry it, you can pass it on to those who are coming after you. So we're constantly running a relay. I'm getting the baton from Miss Lou and Masteran, from Bim and Bam, and I'm gonna pass the baton to IT and Fancy Cat, to the Pretty Boy Floyd, and I'm very clear that that's what we're doing all the time. So when you get a chance to teach or reach young people, you have to remind them that hello, reggae revival wouldn't be here if we never had reggae to begin with. So under them Rastaman, them got jail to wear them lags. They cannot do it now. So that for me, I don't miss a chance to help young people to do that evaluation of what came before you, and therefore how blessed you are to have this.
Mhm. Tell me how when you say Rastaman, I also am now recalling that you said you had locks when you were on the road with Anna.
Yeah.
Did you dishonor Rasta when you cut off your locks? What happened?
I wouldn't frame it quite like that. I I went through a process where so I constantly live in my own head and I argue with myself. And to be honest with you, I got to a point where certain elements of the theology and the doctrine weren't sitting right with me. So I felt
Okay.
I would so when I started growing my hair, when I took my covenant, right? My Nazarene vow as a Rasta man, it meant something for me. It wasn't style. I took my time to get used to men now. I get them locks tightened. Kind of my days were born that. And a style, you know. So once I no longer had the doctrinal theological underpinning for the locks, it only became style, and therefore I wouldn't want to wear it just for style. So that's when I cut my hair. I cut my hair in 1983, the year after I got married.
Well, I thank you for making me identify Aston because he still has his locks. So that
Yeah,
sometimes so I
that's
know it's
how
not you.
that's how I would have. That would have seen my life. That's how I would be looking now. Yeah,
Because they look exactly the same, by the way,
yeah,
from
yeah,
you. They look exactly the same.
Yeah,
Earlier on, I did say that I wanted to ask you about the Becca Foundation
yeah,
because you tell us about Aunt Becca first and
yeah,
how you came to name your foundation that operates in Trenchtown, the
yeah,
Becca Foundation.
yeah. Rebecca Elizabeth Williams, the aunt who raised me and my siblings. And it's so funny because I'm at Aston's house now, and we're talking there. Aston is my safe space. And I
Mhm.
were talking the other day. I was saying, take out that Auntie Becca, she born 1918. That's like
Wow.
that's like 70 something years. It's like around 70 years after slavery abolished. So it's the her generation where she came from that era. So when we're trying to understand why she was killed with beaten, so we gotta like understand it's all she knew, you know. So Auntie Becca was a fishmonger and she had no children of her own, but she
What
raised
kind of mango?
she sold fish on the roadside. Fishmonger, that's the right name. She's
Okay.
a fish vendor.
Fishmonger. A
Yeah,
fish vendor is a fishmonger.
yeah, that's the correct terminology. And she had no child of her own, but she raised my mother 6 children, three others. So she raised 9 children, none of whom were hers. And
Hmm.
you never ever felt like you don't belong. Although should have cut her and tell her what she's sorry for you. But her out was everybody out. But she was constantly. Is it funny? Auntie Becca was always angry till she smoked a spliff. So we would know that if you want to ask her, can I go to the school concert tomorrow? Can I go watch TV next door?
Give
You
her a
just sit down and I burn her a spliff and you ask her. That's the only time she's calm. Apart from that, she's always cussing somebody. She's always angry. And that was Auntie Becca. But she's selfish and she was generous. You know, if you come with a one young person, a single mother, and you want to buy a fish, she will give you extra one fish and so on. And she cook a pot of food every evening. So and when she cook food, everybody come next door, people come and eat. So that's how I grew up. And Auntie Becca was always giving. And I would tell people, me and Hassan going to Auntie Becca house, we never ever consider being bad boys. Because we figure if Auntie Becca who love we can beat with her hard. Imagine the police who don't like we. So we were well behaved, right? And I would joke with my brother It, who grew up in a different household, whose mother loved than him. I would say, boy, Auntie Becca, she not telling you I love you, she not getting her love up and thing, but you're never hungry yet. She feed we good and beat we hard. And that's how I was
I,
raised.
I like how the poet comes out so naturally because you say she's selfish, but she
Yeah,
was generous. So
yes,
she's selfish, but she's not selfish because she was
absolutely.
a generous soul. Um,
Absolutely.
so,
Absolutely.
despite the beatings, you knew her generosity of spirit
Yeah.
and you formed a foundation and called it the Becca Foundation. I
Yeah.
think rightly so, because raising 9 children that are not yours, supporting single women on the road, that's worthy of working with children. So tell us a little bit about the Becca Foundation and what you do with it.
To the Becca Foundation, to my brother Aston is a brilliant musician, multi instrumentalist. He play guitar, bass, keyboard, steel pan,
Everything.
everything, everything.
And
And
him can cook.
he's a brilliant chef. And he was basically self-taught. But when the violence erupted in Kingston in the 70s and we had to move from Trenchtown, he ended up in Montego Bay where my mother lived. And
Mm.
while there, he started steel bands. He took young men who had no training and taught them steel pan and formed 3 full-fledged bands, Golden Sunshine Steel Band. So that's what he's all have been doing, training musicians, teaching people. So he's now returned home, retired, and just enjoy life. And we decided that children in Trenchtown would only learn music if their parents could afford to pay for it at the extracurricular activity because pretty most schools, primary level, even high school level, don't have a good program for music. So we began to just do exactly that. Aston teaches children in Trenchtown drum, guitar, steel pan, free of cost. Mainly now through Trenchtown Primary because it's at least kind of organized, but from the Trenchtown Reading Center, at the Trenchtown Art Center, at the Multipurpose Center on 5th Street, and Trenchtown Primary School for different programs. Is there teaching music. Our aim with the Becca Foundation is to ensure that young people should not be prevented just because of poverty from learning music, from defining themselves as a musician and finding if they have a talent there to explore it. So that's what we've been doing. So we managed to get to, to get instruments. We have now a couple of guitars and drums, and we can know, and but that's what we're doing. So when you support Becca Foundation, you're supporting the, the discovery of the possible next Bob Marley or Alton Ellis from Trenchtown.
Thank you. So, how do people find Becca Foundation? We will make sure that we put it up on the screen so ones can take that down.
Okay.
Is there a website? Is there a
It is in the works. It is in the works, but in the meantime, if you log onto my all of my socials, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you'll have a link to Becca Foundation.
Becca
But it,
Foundation? So, like it need a Colleen.
it did
If
a
someone
Colleen. Thank
owns
you for volunteering.
So I want to move. I want to shift to your current project
Yes.
that we've titled this show from,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of want to start at the collaboration, if it is a collaboration or more of an adaptation of stories written by Cedella Marley about Bob Marley. Tell us a little bit about the how, how and the why.
Yeah. So even long before this production, I met that book by Cyril Marley called Get Up Stand Up, because the Trenchtown Optimist Club that I'm also a member of was involved in delivering the book to young people in Trenchtown as a part of a project that was initiated by Dr. Henley Morgan. And so I like the book because what Stella has done with that book, Get Up Stand Up, is she's reimagined the famous song by her father for children in a way that it makes the content, the idea of defending your rights and standing up for justice. She managed to make it children friendly and palatable for a young audience.
Mhm.
So I love the book. So I gave the book away to a number of children. And we read the book for children during reading week in Trenchtown. So when the school was looking for school of drama, we were looking for our next production for the children program, I said, do something with this book. So I gave the book to Cecile Dixon Mattis, who was the resident children theater person at School of Drama. And she wrote a play based on that she called The Magic Guitar, about a
Ah,
little boy with a magic guitar who inspired by the book, begins to challenge and confront injustice. And that's what we end up with, a production now called M is for. And you discover in the play that the M is for memory, music, Marley, and magic. And the
mhm.
idea is that three teenagers reunited for after 10 years separation, remembering their primary school days, and one of them fire his grandma gave him a guitar that can do magic, and when he plays the guitar, moods change. And we look at the way our music does in fact do that. When in the Bible, when Saul was depressed and David played him harp, his spirits were lifted. And we see how music can change moods and shift atmosphere. So the story is the three kids remember how when they were in primary school, fire had a guitar, and when the guitar play, the difficult teacher start behave better, things start to happen magically because music does that magically. So, but we want to make the point that yeah, memory is important because history is really memory without the mystery and the opinions. And
Yeah.
music can change and make difference. And and that Marley as a musician proved that because his words are inspiring generations continually. And therefore, if we can use the memory and the music and be inspired by Marley, we can make magic by just working together. And that's the ultimate magic. And that's what the play tries to do for in a child-friendly way, in a fun way for children.
Thank you. It's not like we can even say that it's a new way of introducing Marley to children, because I find that children receive Marley's lyrics. The lyrics are relevant to generations of young
But
people.
and I must tell you, Colleen, we said Marley and not Bob. You mentioned the word generations. Now, Aston is working with the kids at Trenchtown Primary School, and we're trying to do a performance for an event for, I think, what, last year or the year before, for Reggae Month, for Bob Marley's birthday. And he asked the children to tell him their favorite Marley song. Now, me and you that think they might got that song by Bob. They, the children, chose Skip Marley's Lion that I didn't even know about. So it also, that generation, their Marley is not Bob. Their Marley is Damien and Stephen and Skip. And to me, that's
Mhm.
wonderful because
Yeah,
our
yeah.
generation, you know? So, and so
Still,
that,
still, that's really interesting, because just Saturday I went to the memorial concert for Joe
for Joe
Mercer,
Mercer, yes,
and while I was there, my first observation was the Marley family love them one another, boy. You could
yes,
just see love on the
yes,
stage, and perhaps it
yes,
is Bob carrying Stephen and Ziggy on stage that has
yes,
really created that kind of a legacy. But
yeah,
the interesting thing was watching Stevens, at least three of his children, performing and sounding good. And
yeah,
then Junior Young's child
yes,
sounding just as good.
yeah,
And you think
Elijah. Oh
Marley is
man,
here to stay.
oh
So
man,
I would love to see them experience the play too.
yeah.
So let's hope those children are around when the play opens. This weekend it opens
It opens tomorrow. It opened last week. It opened in my mind. It opened several times.
tomorrow.
But it opens. It will run March 17, 18, 19, 20, 21.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you. Um, so I kind of want to go to what can we expect as audience, coming to the play. So we hear the production is about music. We hear it's about history. It's
Mm.
also about values. The get up, stand up values are in there, I suppose.
Absolutely,
Um,
absolutely.
what can we expect? What special features? What the set like? Is it indoor? Is it outdoor? What do we expect of the play?
It's indoor, and if the technology is kind to us, it will be magical. We have a revolving set. We want to really enhance the idea of the magic of the arts, and it is extremely interactive. You cannot sit down. The audience is a part of the show. You have to get involved in the show, and so expect storytelling. Expect a kind of to the narrator. It's called Mr. Mention, and the narrator it's about to be kind of a mythical character, that kind of a blend between Dancehall and Anansi, who tells the story and make things happen magically. As the children are forced, well, not they're encouraged and they're inspired to confront a teacher who's being just corrupt, want to
Mm.
prevent herself, who only, well, three examples. The girl who win the maths exam but him don't want her to go on TV because she come from the ghetto. The boy who him have locks, so he must play up on the football team. And another girl who being bullied because she fat and boys are teasing her. And to that have without getting too preachy, to that encourage children to see those things as wrong and challenge them. And that's what the show aims to do. Without being too forcefully preachy, but just to find a way to have children consider that you can make a difference. You can stand up to that bully if you have the support of a team, of a community, and say, we think that is wrong, stop it. And that's what the fun show is musical, it's music, it's games, it's storytelling, but the most importantly, it's it's just to raise the convo among young people about these themes. But importantly, it also gives a shout out to Rastafari, to the Rastafari present in Jamaican culture.
Interesting. I want to touch the Rastafari presence in a little bit, but I'm looking at the flyer. It looks fun. But who did the guitar, by the way? I like how the guitar cool.
It's the Edna Manley College marketing team because they wanted the guitar to be a guitar that it can be played and it can play itself. Because we are that guitar who can play ourselves.
Okay. And it can play.
Yes, and it
It
can
can
play.
play itself, it can be played, and it can play.
And it
Because
can
it has
play.
put a hand and run up and down, can't catch it up.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's interesting when you say the Rastafari presence in Jamaica. I go immediately to the 60th anniversary visit of His Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie to the Caribbean,
Yeah.
and the fact that this is the year, April 21st is 60 years since that, and his own gift to Jamaica was Haile Selassie High School. Why did you laugh?
I laugh because I was an Edna Manley College student doing drama and education, so I had to do teaching practice, and the school sent me there, and they would ask me because they had locks.
They sent you there because you had locks.
Yeah, and the school refused me because they had locks.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
really?
yeah.
What? Wow, that was like
That was
early 80s,
1979.
1979.
Yeah, 3 schools from back. Either Dalton James High School, High Selassie High School, and Stats. 3 schools said no, you can't teach here with your locks.
Before you out the people, them you just call out the school name. But because
1970.
the most ironic for me is the Haile Selassie
Yeah, yeah.
High School. That's quite interesting. But in advancing the Marley message, in advancing the Marley music, in advancing the Trenchtown story, what do you do for Rastafari?
What do I do for Rastafari? I encourage young people to value Rastafari as a line in the play. A line in the play actually said, if Jamaican people can accept and respect Rastafari in 2026, when? When will they? You know, and that's what I really want to ask Jamaicans. You don't have to agree with the doctrine. You don't have to love every Rasta man, but you should as a Jamaican understand and respect the value of Rastafari to Jamaica, to the black experience, and honor that. And I insist on that.
There is a food for thought. Sometimes we don't talk about it enough that we still have Rasta children or children with locks who are forbidden from going to school.
Yes,
We still have people with
yes,
locks being told to take it off. I think
yes.
I spoke to a young Rastafari woman, Carice Lawrence, who spoke about her experience in the bank with somebody with a sister lock and had to take it off.
Yeah,
So, I mean, how far we've come, how far we've not come, in spite of all of the successes we see of reggae music across the world and Rastafari being our tourist image for the most part. When you
yeah,
spoke about rent a dreading, as much as it had its own politics, don't underestimate the power of that Rastafari image in pulling people to Jamaica.
absolutely, absolutely. And you know, I want to say this because we started off with you asking about earlier memories. And I want to share 3 early memories. One, I was 6 years old. It's probably the only time I can remember my father put me on his shoulder to go watch the parade of cars when His Majesty was in Jamaica in 1966. I remember it to this day.
How old you were a child?
Yet I was
When you-
6 years old on my
Wow.
father's shoulder watching the cars passing by. Me not say a thing, but me not say that I might say no flag away, red, gold, and green flag. But I was in the excitement of it. I remember that vividly. I also remember 1972, just past common entrance, going to Excelsior now. And I wake up early morning time to take bus go to school, and I would pass 2 Rastaman jogging around the Vin Lawrence Park on First Street. I mean, know them, Skill Cole and Bob Marley. And at the time of those 2 Rastaman, I never realized then how that picture would be so important now when I think about it. I'd pass these 2 Rastaman early morning, a jog, keep it, never start last week. That was 1972. And there was Bob and Skill Cole jogging around the field. And the third memory is this. When the schools tell me say I can't teach there because I have locks, School of Drama said you must do teaching practice. So here's what you will do. You'll teach our Saturday class for children as their teaching practice. And I was doing that. In my class was Deborah, Deborah Cole, Judy and Skill's daughter, and her brother David. And they had
Mm.
this friend who was their classmate named Esther Marcus. And her father, a lawyer, Lowell Marcus, came there one day to come early for to pick up his daughter. And he said, young man, come here. You're so good with the kids. Hope they're paying you well. I said, no, sir. It's my teaching program. He said, what? You're not being paid? After that, every Saturday, that lawyer would pay me. He would give me a little tip. So even though I was refused from some schools, I was the only student who was getting paid for my teaching practice.
It was your blessing.
I tell you.
You see, a Rasta powerful.
Yeah. Yes,
Um,
I am.
but it's interesting because when you talk about teaching children, when you think about the responsibility you have as
Yeah.
a teacher of someone who is passing on knowledge to children, it's really important that
Mhm.
we focus. I want to ask you a question about Jamaican theater. Do you think Jamaican theater receives the support it deserves?
No, no, no. Strong no. Emphatic no. Absolutely no. Because the people who support things are very tied to numbers, and theater is not big numbers. A theater is
Mm,
400 people. 400 people.
mm,
The people don't see the value in putting their money behind that. But it carries. I used to collect theater before we gone to completely paperless. I have a box full of theater programs, playbills from plays gone way back. And you still to the promo they add in there for who sponsor the program. So I think people are missing the value of the marketing value of supporting theater because they are so tied to numbers. And they forget that it's not the number of people who see it, but number of years that it is in people's
it
consciousness.
is in
But
people's
understand,
consciousness.
but theater need some money.
Michael Sean Harris, Michael Holgate, and Neil Banks does what we call Talawa Table right here on Reggae Online.
Hmm.
And I am going to suggest to them that we do that conversation around theater and its
Absolutely.
value on audiences, especially when you look at theater as a comparison to film. Because while you
Mm.
were talking, I'm thinking of how I witnessed theater. Or in my mind, I saw theater in the One Love, the two representation of One Love. Remember the One Love, the movie with Shireen Anderson?
Right.
Holgate was as well. There's
Yeah.
a scene in it when they go to the Don's house and they set an egg for him. There was a
Hmm.
little bit for me what I would expect to see on a Jamaican stage in that moment. And when
Hmm.
I saw the most recent staging of the film One Love, recently
Yeah.
produced by Fidela and Ziggy Marley, there is a scene in there when there's a local actor. He was playing Lee Scratch Perry. I
Yeah.
can't remember his
Everyone
name.
the query.
Is Everald Creary. When
Ukoko,
he was
yeah.
scratching his hand and dancing in the little cupboard, I thought I could see that on a Jamaican theater stage.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so I found that interesting in terms of packaging, how we can package what we call theater that is not
Yeah.
big money into something that's big film, expose the actors who we see on our stages in that kind of package. But give thanks for that, and we hope that the powers that be and who are listening can support theatre some more.
Hmm. Hmm.
Tell me one Jamaican story you think that deserves to be told on a big stage or in a big movie.
Oh my God, there's so many stories. The story of the Ellis family, that's one story. The story of Wappy King that people talk about from Wappy King Philip. That character called
Mm,
Aston Jolly, aka Wappy King. Those notorious characters, Wappy King, Kid Ralph, those are all terrible stories. I also think that we could do a wonderful Jamaican superhero movie and a character like a nanny, as a superwoman kind of character that would just
mm.
be
Me da go audition,
trust me.
at least when Nanny reach mid-age.
Yeah. But I think those stories are ripe for telling in film. You know, the story of, I still see a proper Trenchtown documentary That could be an ongoing series. And those
Yeah.
the people who came to Trenchtown and those who came from Trenchtown. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant idea that just need the money to make it happen.
Hmm. Tell me a role that you think changed your life, a role that you played that had some impact on a life change.
Huh? It's happening right now. It's so weird. Francis and Solomon called me from Toronto and said, "But can I call you on video?" I say, "Yes." But why? "I want to see you and talk to you." I said, "Okay." She video called me. She looked at me and she said, "Blakka, I'm doing a project called The Ghost of Garvey. I want you in it." I said, "Yeah, sure." What part am I playing? She said, "Play Garvey." I'm like, "No, stop it. Me play Marcus Garvey? You're crazy." And she insisted. That has completely changed my life in the last year or so. It's amazing. I tell people I would give thanks to the Almighty. I never auditioned for parts. The people call me and the parts come to me. So I wasn't at Negril for the Skylark Film Festival, but I was the only Jamaican actor who was in 2 films there. I was in Danisha's Treasures. I was in
Hmm.
Francis and Solomon's Garvey's Ghost. Me in Garvey's Ghost, playing Garvey's Ghost. It took me a long time, Colleen, to wrap my brain around how I can convince myself that it makes sense. And therefore I can then defend it before an audience. Because I could feel the pushback before it even start. One, she's framing Garvey, a story about Garvey, a story with Garvey in there as comedy. And two, she having me, a known comic actor, play the ghost of Marcus Garvey. That's almost
Hmm.
sacrilege, don't it? Well,
Yes.
it wasn't
That's
because
right.
I found a way to understand it. That yes, it's Marcus Garvey, but it's really a story about Denham Jolly, the Jamaican who went to Canada and became a big person in media, and he was living at a house by a woman who was a Garveyite, and therefore she missed Garvey, and the ghost came back to help her solve things. So I'm playing the ghost of Garvey as an impish kind of an Anansi character, which is a different spin on Garvey. And I determined to say, okay, it's Garvey's ghost. And somebody can say, well, Blakka don't look and sound like Garvey. And I will say, but have you seen Garvey's ghost? God, I am the ghost of Garvey. But playing that
Yeah,
part,
Duffy.
yeah, good duppy. But playing that part really opened a space in my mind about possibilities. But how we can reframe things and reclaim things in ways that even people who would come to it with hesitance can say, yeah, it worked for me. So playing Marcus Garvey in Garvey's Ghost is still life changing for me. It's happening because the movie, the film is being shown all over around the diaspora, and I'm getting called by people who are like, Blakka, you were great in Garvey's Ghost. I still haven't watched it because I don't want to watch myself and find faults.
We'll watch it together.
Okay.
Next time it's a show, a big foreign,
Yes,
you buy me ticket and the tour we go. I want you
absolutely.
to share a lesson from your Auntie Becca that still guides you.
So, so we think Auntie Becca constantly reside on the intersection of the sacred and the profane. She got plenty bad word, but she ever quote the Bible. And she would begin with quoting a Bible verse or a hymn, and then segue into a length, a mile of cloth. She'd say, but must Jesus bear the cross alone and all the world go free? No, there's a cross for everyone, and there's a cross for me. You look at that is thinking, and she'll go, and she's always there. And the lesson I have learned from Auntie Becca's life is that nothing is any one thing. Everything is everything. And the sacred is also the profane, and vice versa. And that's what I've learned from Auntie. She always tell us this thing. She said, God help watchman and God help thief.
God help everybody.
God everybody. And that for me is Auntie Becca's legacy. God help watchman and God help thief. If you work for something, it will happen for you. If you want it badly enough, as we learn from the book The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, if you want it badly enough, the universe conspires with you and make it happen for you.
Make it happen for you. What keeps you passionate about theater, education, and the arts in general?
I'm always learning and I love to learn. I'm a nerd for education. And teaching gives me a chance to keep on learning. Because you have to learn and relearn what you have learned so the two of them can learn it from you. So that keeps me going. But also being able to touch other generations that come after me is something that inspires me and fires me up, and my grandchildren see me as this great person, and that scares me, intimidates me, but keep me grounded, and that's what keep me moving one step before the other every day.
Let's just say that your grandchildren and young children, generally, young people in general, see
Yeah,
you as a great thing, and
yeah,
that you age well
that's
and
true.
haven't lost your sense of humor.
Now I don't intend to lose it.
Blakka, thanks for reminding us that culture is not only inherited; we carry it forward.
Yeah.
We started out the conversation about your family's legacy. You mentioned Hortense Ellis. You mentioned, well, I did at least Alton Ellis.
Mhm.
To Trenchtown being the cultural heartbeat of Jamaica, to the productions that you've been in, to keep resting in who you knew from teenage to Edna, to just making audience laugh, making audiences reflect, making audience people like me recognize ourselves
Mhm.
in some of the characters and some of the issues that come out in these characters. So you've definitely helped to shape Jamaican stories, and of course, I think you'll go down in history for that. And now this children theatre collabing with Cecile Dixon Mattis, sharing Sidella's Marley's story of her father. That storytelling continues to generation. Children will enjoy it. And so, to all of you who join us to hear this wonderful person, you get him for free only on Reggae Online. Otherwise, you have to call us for bookings if you want to see him on stage. It has been my pleasure, Blakka. Thank you so much for sharing with us. And I think I have one final thing I want you. If a child who is not yet born or who is just born were to watch your work a few years from now, what is it that you hope that they would remember? And we'd go out on that.
Well, I hope that anybody who watches my work in the future would remember that whatever I am to them as they see me is the product of everything that happened before me, decades before me, and even centuries before me. We are nothing without our ancestors, and we must never ever forget that. Remember the future by not forgetting the past.
Give thanks. I'm looking for the flyer. Michael, if you share the flyer again so we can remind those who are in Jamaica, if you're in Jamaica, to watch March 17 to 20, 2 p.m. at the Edna Manley College of the Visual and Performing Arts. It's a production by the School of Drama. It's called Emmys 4. It's at the Dennis Scott Studio Theatre. Dennis Scott is another legend. Again, we have to talk about some of these Jamaicans because we don't call their names enough. There are associated costs, but we don't know if a platform will forbid me for sharing costs. But it's reasonably enough, and you can just turn up if you're there, Jamaica, and go and enjoy this play with the child in you and your children and grandchildren.
Yes.
On March 21st, it's played twice at 2 and at 5 p.m. So please make your way down to One Arthur Wint Drive to enjoy that. And just to remind you of our other programs, the Moment with Mike, this is Lounge Lime. All of these are located on reggaeonline.com. We also have Rockers Book Club. that you can tune in and take up a book and read, especially books written by Caribbean people or African people. And enjoy that. Thank you so much for joining us on Lounge Lime this evening. It has been my pleasure speaking to Owen Blakka Ellis. We could talk forever, coming like him. I'm Colleen Douglas, and it has been my pleasure. We give thanks.
Bless you and thank you for having me.